So welcome everybody. I'm doing another alumni webinar with my friend Cheryl. She has recently completed my 10-hour coaching program, and she and I had such a great experience. I wanted her to come and introduce herself to you and share with you something of her experience and what happened whilst we were working together. So hi Cheryl, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you live and how you came to find me.
Hi, Hannah. It's so nice to see you again. Let's see. I live in Western North Carolina in the foothills of the mountains. And I came to you because Jack Pransky had mentioned your book.
Oh.
And what he had said about it wasn't about the pain, but he said it was the best introduction to the three principles he's ever read. And so I was in a mentoring group with him and he recommended that. So I came to you that way, and I read the book probably 3 or 4 times. And the biggest thing for me in that book was recognizing the perfectionist traits that I have, which are many. And I would never have said that about myself, like you. Dishes in the sink, unmade bed, but no, those perfectionist traits, I hold myself in the world to very high standards. That if you can't meet that, which most people, they don't go into, you're going to be unhappy. So that was a biggie for me. And so, yeah.
Nice. I'm very flattered. Jack's a good friend, and I really appreciate him recommending my book to people. So as we were talking, what did you find was helpful? I know you had some quite powerful insights along the way. So what do you think was shifting? Because I remember when we first spoke, you said a few times, I'm not getting it, or I don't get it. Something must have shifted. How would you describe that?
Yes. I've done a few, I've been in the three principles about 7 or 8 years. Took a few years off after I divorced and moved here. And, it was a very different experience. And so I got back into it. But every time I would ever take anything, I'd always be the one saying, I don't get it. There's everybody else. They're getting it. Look at them. Look at their faces, And I always felt like I wasn't just getting it, And so you and I did that intensive together, that 10 hours, I guess it was. And I usually have this complete amnesia about insights and everything. I don't tend to remember them very much, but I learned a lot from that. And the part that really stuck to me was when we talked about consciousness and the elevator going up and down, and being in the basement versus being in the higher floors, and how it just changed your view. And I was down in that basement a lot, and the grimy, grungy basement was what I looked out of, and so everything kind of looked that way. And I really struggled with anxiety. And after we did those sessions, I was in a much better place, but I still struggled with anxiety, and to the point I felt like I was shaking from inside. And I also still felt like I didn't quite get it. So it was like a first step on a journey for me was our intensive together. And then we connected by WhatsApp. I think it's been a couple months now. And I looked over them today, and you would say, how are you feeling? Or how are you doing today? And I'd be like, oh, anxiety.
Right.
Oh, anxiety is not too bad. Oh, anxiety. It was just kind of a repeat over and over. And then I was listening to Ken Manning, Sheila, I can't say her last name.
Sheila Masand.
my son,
right,
was interviewing Ken Manning. And he was coaching a woman who had long COVID. And what he said to her is, can you see that even though you're in fatigue, you can still be in that good feeling?
right.
And something came through me and said, just stay in that good feeling. And I just started to do that. And I cut through all that thinking and thinking about my thinking, you know. Um, and that's, even though I knew better, it's what I did, you know. So I just started pointing towards that good feeling over and over and over and over. And as I did that, you know, kind of the elevator started to rise, you know, and I started looking at the world so differently. Everything that was a problem didn't seem to be much of a problem. And there was so much more ease and so much more beauty in the world. And it was just simple.
It's so interesting to hear you say that, because I remember when we first started talking and you would say like nothing's happening in my life and nothing's really going on, and I was sitting here going like, but she has a great life. You know, it's a beautiful home, and she goes, you know, I know you're interested in birds and you go birding, and I was thinking that
Yep.
sounds like such
Yep.
a beautiful, wonderful thing to do, and you're like, nothing's really happening, and I was just waiting for you to. I just was. I knew you had it because everybody has that innate
Right.
well-being, that resilience
Right.
inside of them. We just get caught up in the thinking, and I was just like waiting for that moment when you could shift and just see what a beautiful life you had. So
And
it's so wonderful
and
when that happened.
yes, and what kind of happened is about the time I had that insight to just turn towards the good feeling, and was doing so much better and feeling so much better about life. You started asking me, well, what are you doing today? Well, what's on your agenda for today?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm writing it. I'm thinking, and I'm starting to think, well, gosh, I have a great life, you know. And and that was the beautiful thing, was nothing changed. My life is exactly what
Mm-hmm.
it was, but
Yeah,
everything changed.
yeah.
And you know, and I do have a great life,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very grateful and thankful for it and for the people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best part of it, is nothing changed and everything changed.
Yeah. That's priceless. I mean, you know, we spend our lives, you know, searching and fixing and changing, and I was convinced that if just everything was different, then I'd be okay. And
Exactly.
you know,
Yes.
and then it's
Yeah.
so amazing when you have a shift in your thinking and you have a different perspective, that your life can be exactly the same and yet you see it completely differently, and what's a lot of things that seem like problems just melt away. And it's one of the things I love about the three principles is we didn't work on anything, you know. it just
No,
it just
no, absolutely not.
it just
Um,
shifts when you have a better understanding.
right. And I remember telling people that I didn't come to you and say, well, I have this, you know, trauma, childhood trauma. And it came up in our conversation, but I didn't come to you with a list of the problems in my life.
Right.
I just came to you for a deeper spiritual understanding, which you really helped me with,
Right.
you know. And I see that it's why when people coach, they're always trying to get people to that higher place in the elevator, because
Right.
life just looks different, you
Yeah.
know, from that place.
Right. I know, I love that quote. I think it's Sandy Krop, where she says, or maybe I can't remember who said it now, but don't underestimate the power of a good mood. And like
Exactly. Yes.
the
Yeah.
healing power of a good mood, because it sounds so trite and like kind of, you know, what do you mean a good mood? So what? But it's so powerful that I think that's like Sid Banks is always pointing us to look for that good feeling. And when
Right.
you're in a better
Right.
mood, even if you are in pain, even if you do have some, you know, stuff going on, or you have a history of trauma or abuse, it's like when your perspective of that shifts, the pain of it shifts, and you don't have to live in the stinky thinking of it anymore. You know, you're free of it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know that, we, if we're in this, if we're in the three principles or whatever we're
Mm-hmm.
in, we usually know what that good feeling is,
Yeah.
which to me is kind of a connection to the divine.
Yeah.
You could call it presence, you could call it the flow, whatever it is, but we know it.
Yeah.
And we know that good feeling
Mm-hmm.
in that.
Yeah.
And it's just remembering that. And it just cut out all the thinking, which I, of course, was a chronic overthinker. and
Right.
and it just made it very simple, which is perfect for me. So I'm just, like I say, it's all been steps since
Mm-hmm.
Jack recommended your book, to doing the intensive with you, to listening to Sheila's,
Mm-hmm.
conversations with the 3P
Right.
practitioners, and then just getting my own insight. And that was the other thing I did. I would notice when my thinking was going too fast. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, okay, it's time to slow down. Then
Yeah.
I would just sit in my chair and look out the window at the birds. And that's when I've gotten very good insights.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just was doing that instead of thinking.
Yeah. So now, um, what does life look like now? I think you're going on a trip soon. You're having another
I am. I'm
adventure.
leaving Saturday to go bird on the Central California coast,
Wow.
and then going down to bird for a week on the Olympic Peninsula. Uh,
Ah.
so it's really exciting for me. I hope to get 25 new life birds, and you know, and I've been with the trip leader before, and he's just a wonderful guy. So
Oh.
I'm really excited about that, and I'm kind of quit worrying about spending money. the,
Right.
the old, the feeling of, oh, I don't have enough money to live out my life. I can't do any. What am I supposed?
Right.
I just kind of feel like a abundance will come in if needed.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
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 Or I'll be on the street as a bag lady, as I always hear.
I don't think so. So, are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to share? Anything anybody else who's struggling with this idea that that life's, like what you just made me think of was Sid Banks's quote when he said, "You've trapped yourself in a level of consciousness, and you've forgotten that other realities exist." It's like that. That's
Yes.
what I see has happened for you. So, anything you want to wrap it up and just sum that up with?
Um, well, mostly I think it's something good for people to try, like me, the overthinkers, you
Yeah.
know, the worrying about our worries, and worrying about our thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and I would just turning towards that good feeling,
Yeah.
and over again, 200 times a day doesn't matter,
Right.
then all of a sudden you're living in that good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it's just like a shift that happens,
Right.
and yeah, everything's the same, and then everything's different.
Right. And then that becomes your new reality. It's amazing.
It is my Yes, exactly right. That
Right.
becomes your new reality, so it's, to me, it's a very simplified version, if you will.
Right. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your experience with us. And I wish you all the best for your trip, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's so good to see your face again.
Okay. Bye.
Bye bye.